guys, so for the last day of my ASMR week, I'm going to be showing you my scary movie collection. I definitely don't own all the scary movies that I love, which is kind of sad, because horror is one of my favorite genres of film, but yeah, I just need to grow my collection. But I'll show you the ones that I do have. But before I get started, I do want to give an honorable mention to my favorite horror movie of all time, which is crazy that I don't own it, but that is Sinister. It stars Ethan Hawke, and that movie made him become one of my favorite actors of all time. So yeah, you should definitely check it out. It's super well done. It's very creepy. My dog cannot stay still. What? He just turned the TV on. No, you can't watch TV. What the heck? Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a really creepy movie. I saw it in theaters, and it was one of the few movies that have really scared me. And I love that it's from the perspective of Ethan Hawke's character instead of I guess a more objective point of view. It's more so a first person point of view. So I really like that about it, and it's really creepy. So I love the storyline and I love the ending. Definitely check it out. But the first movie I'm going to talk about is Suspiria. 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 So this movie came out in 1977, I believe. And, oh my gosh, there's so many special features. Yeah, it came out in 1977, and it is from the director Dario Argento, who is an Italian film director. And this is technically an Italian horror film, but it is in English because it's dubbed over. Although the main character, Susie, she does speak English, so you are actually hearing her voice in the movie, but other characters were dubbed over because they're speaking multiple different languages. Some characters are speaking German, some Italian. So Italian movies, especially Italian horror, is very known for having international casts, so it's kind of hard when you have a bunch of people speaking different languages in one movie. I imagine that would be an interesting experience because as an actor, it's you don't really know what they're saying to you, but you know what your line is, which is definitely not everyone's cup of tea to watch a movie like that. I definitely understand. I watched this movie because I was really excited for the remake coming out because Dakota Johnson's in it, and I didn't realize that this movie is actually a very celebrated horror movie. It's my dog's first shot. I can't imagine what it's like filming with kids. It's hard enough with two dogs. But yeah, so I checked this movie out because I was excited for the remake, and I realized that this is a really huge horror movie. I had never even heard of it, but a lot of critics will include it in their list of best horror movies of all time, and Dario Argento has influenced a lot of contemporary filmmakers. So yeah. Now moving on, actually, what I think about the movie. I really like it, but I would say I more so like it for the more formal aspects of film, so the set design and the color palette and the directing and cinematography is really cool. I love what Dario Argento does with colors. It's a very distinct, like each setting and each scene has like very distinct colors. There's a lot of solid colors going on and a lot of just like deep, rich colors, and it just makes for like a really cool environment while watching the film. And he's really known for including like very artificial light in his movies. So like, you know, there would just be a scene and like in this opening scene when she's in the airport, there's just like red light shining in the scene, which is like, obviously it comes off as very like it's not reality and very kind of nightmarish. It's like, you know that in real life you don't just have blue and green and red lights just randomly shining in the room. But for a horror movie, I just think it's really cool, and I do really enjoy this film. It's not one that I would necessarily watch like over and over again, but yeah, it's definitely a movie that needs to be, I think, respected in the horror genre, because it is hard when, you know, what kind of movies we're used to now, and then people watch one from the 70s and they're like, oh, this sucks, and it's just that we're not used to it, you know what I mean? But Jessica Harper, her eyes are so big and expressive, and I think that she's beautiful on screen, and I really, really, really love just like watching her as a horror actress. So yeah, not for everyone, but it's a good movie. Now, I do quickly want to talk about the remake, because I do own it, and it is a horror movie. So I think as an actress, Dakota Johnson chooses very interesting roles ever since she did 50 Shades. And I think it was super cool that she did this movie. Also, I'm really glad they included more dancing in this one, because it is a movie that takes place... What is my dog doing? It is a movie that takes place at a ballet school in Berlin, which is another reason I guess it was such an international cast, because you have like Germany, but it's from an Italian director, but then it's dubbed in English, so yeah. But this one's completely in English, although not completely, because it does have German in it, but pretty much everyone in the movie are English speakers. But yeah, definitely an interesting role for Dakota. I think she was beautiful as Susie. I really liked the orange hair that they chose for her character. This is directed by Luca Guadagnino. I literally wrote a paper about him last semester. I was like, I have to remember his name. And I did write about this movie in my 10-page paper. Actually, I think it was 8 pages. Not just on this movie, but on the director. And this was one, never mind, it's not a big deal, but this is a movie by Luca Guadagnino. And yeah, I'm glad they included dancing in it, because it makes it more interesting for me, because I love dance. And I think it works well in a horror movie. Luca definitely went in an original direction. These two movies are very different, even though this is a remake. So yeah, Luca went in a very different direction with it, and I think he kind of tried to be like different from Dario Argento on purpose, because Dario's is very like rich and vibrant color palette, and this one is like very pale and like muted for the most part, which I don't think worked against it at all. I think it was nice, but I feel like it was, you know, Luca trying to bring a very stark contrast from the original. It's a very long movie. I saw this in theaters, and it was quite an experience. I had to drive an hour, and I saw it by myself because it was not playing anywhere near me. Definitely worth it though. Sorry, I'm not really giving like a big synopsis of these films. I just figure I talk about different aspects of it, because you can just look up the, you know, plot summary. But yeah, as far as this movie, like, I appreciate it. Again, it's not something that I would sit through again anytime soon, but there were things I liked about it and things I didn't. I think some of the CGI or special effects were really weird and just like fake looking. Like they did not look scary at all. It was just very like kind of laughable. My chihuahua is driving me crazy. Are you gonna give them ASMR? No, you're not. So you gotta get out of the shot. Okay, puppy? Go away. I would say this movie is kind of all over the place in a way. I don't know. And in the dance scenes, like when Dakota did her solo and she auditions for the dance school, and when they do like the big number, it's a lot of breathing. Like the dancers will constantly be like like when they dance, and I don't know why that was included. It was very weird to me. But yeah, it's definitely a journey to watch this movie. It's an experience. But yeah, I liked it overall. I mean, I bought it. And I love Dakota Johnson, so yeah. Okay, next. This video's gonna be so long, I feel like. We have Don't Breathe. Now that we have the art films out of the way. No, just kidding. There's still another one. I'll save that for last. So, I'll give a little synopsis for this movie. Basically, these teens break into this old blind guy's house to try and rob him. And then it turns out that the guy's kind of a badass, and then they have to kind of try and make it out alive. So this movie, I really, I liked the idea, and it is a pretty badass film, honestly, and it really plays with your emotions. I will say the characters are a bit stereotypical and one-dimensional. You know, like you have the kind of like alpha male asshole, and then the female character who, you know, is you're supposed to resonate with her character more, and then the other male character who's like nicer and has a crush on her. You know what I mean? Like that kind of typical cast. But yeah, it's a very interesting movie because at first you're like, obviously these people deserve to be punished for trying to rob this guy, but then you might kind of find yourself wondering who to root for as you watch it. It's been a while since I watched this movie. It's been a couple years. Yeah. I bought this pretty recently. Whenever I go to like Target or Walmart, I always have to look at the movies because you could find some of them for pretty good deals. Like I think this was around, I would say less than $10 or like around $10. Yeah. But I always love when horror movies get good ratings. It makes me feel really happy because the genre gets, you know, shit all the time for being, you know, cheesy, unoriginal, all that stuff. So I give this movie a lot of credit for being very original, and I do think it was executed pretty well. Yeah, it's a fun time. It's a fun little suspenseful movie. The ending kind of it went there. It went there, definitely. It was very, very interesting turn of events. Wasn't expecting it at all. Yeah, the ending I feel like was a little bit like, what the fuck? But yeah, I still really like this film. So it's more, yeah, I would say more thriller than horror, but it's a very good time. It's a great Halloween movie. Great Halloween movie. Next, we have Devil. And nobody come for my man M. Night Shyamalan in the comments, because he's not that terrible. He actually didn't direct this movie, but he did write it. watched this movie a handful of times. I really like it, honestly. I think it's actually pretty smart. And it really, like, keeps you engaged. And, yeah, is it a little bit cheesy at times? Maybe a little bit. But, ooh. I took a sticker off of it. Makes some nice sounds. So, personally, I really like movies that take place in, like, one location for most of the time. It does move around a little bit, but a lot of it is in the building and the elevator. And I don't know why, I just really like watching, movies unravel in, like, real time in a way. And just be centered around, like, one thing. And it just keeps progressing. And, yeah, I just really like those kinds of movies. And basically people are stuck in an elevator and they keep dying and you have to figure out who's doing it. But it's a little bit more, like, developed of an idea than that. It has different aspects of it, like, you know, it's called Devil, so it's like a lot of metaphors and kind of narrative about the devil and about, you know, what makes a bad person and all that stuff. So it has that kind of aspect to it that makes it a little bit more, like, I don't know what word I'm looking for. Like, makes the film have a little bit more merit. Like, it's more than just a cheesy horror movie where people just keep dying. It's a little bit more like, I don't know, like, I feel so inarticulate today. I don't know how to explain it. But it's smarter, I guess, than your average horror film. I would say that. I really love this film. This is also a good Halloween film. Well, maybe not. I mean, I don't know what your preferred. I feel like a lot of people will, you know, like the typical Scream Queen, you know, masked killer movies on Halloween, but this is just a good movie to watch in general. Okay, we have 2 more movies and it's almost 20 minutes long. Oh my gosh. So, we have Split. I haven't even unwrapped this yet. So I've watched this movie a few times. I got this for $5 at Target. So, main reason for liking this film is obviously James McAvoy. Incredible. I know some of these aren't I don't know, like, I think they're all in the scary movie genre, I would say. Yeah, but James McAvoy crushes this role. He's incredible. Like, he's just amazing to watch on screen. He's a great actor. So yeah, that's why I love this movie. Also, Haley Lou Richardson is in this movie. She plays a pretty small role, but I also really love her. Yeah, I think this movie, again, my man, M. Night Shyamalan, I don't know why I keep saying my man. He's not, like, my favorite director or anything, but I do think he's better than people give him credit for. Split. So, I love the way that this movie goes in terms of, like, his reasoning behind what he does and the different little, like, things that he says throughout the movie of, like, along the lines of the broken being the more, the broken and the impure being the more evolved. I think it's a really beautiful, like, way to carry the movie. Again, it could just be that he's crazy and he kidnaps these girls, but adding that kind of layer to it makes it a little bit more like hard-hitting, I feel like, and maybe, again, you might resonate with him a little bit more, because there is something to be said, I think, of the thought of, people who have been damaged and have been through a lot, kind of having a more real view of life and what the world is like, and being more evolved in a sense. I think it's kind of beautiful, putting that kind of spin on it, because people who have been through trauma probably don't feel particularly strong or important, but they very much are. And it might not be the most obvious takeaway from the film if you're focusing on more of the big events that are happening, but I think in the ending scene, I mean, it's not like the last scene, but one of the final scenes between him and, what is her name? Why can't I think of her name? Anna something Joy? Something Joy? I'm gonna find it. Anya Taylor-Joy, yeah. The last scene between them is really emotional and a really strong scene, and it's one of my favorites. Talk about Anya Taylor-Joy for a minute. I hate her. It takes away from this movie a little bit for me. Basically, the main girl in it, I forget her name in the movie. I think she's a really bad actress. I don't know why she keeps getting these roles. I first saw her in The Witch, which is one of the worst movies I've seen of all time. I almost left the theater. It's a horrible horror movie. It's a terrible movie in general. It sucks. And I was like, wow, I really don't like this girl. And then I keep seeing her. She's not in a lot of things, but she's in a decent amount of movies, and I think she's a terrible actress. I don't know why. People think she's good. I think she's awful. So, yeah, just had to throw that in there because I really dislike her acting. Okay, now we're on to the final movie that I got recently, and I'm so happy about it. I'm so excited. Midsummer. My sister's coming over tonight, and she's gonna see this because she's really wanted to see it, so I'm showing it to her. This movie, wow. This is the director who did Hereditary. I know that was a really famous horror movie that came out last year, 2018, I think. Yeah, that movie was intense. Yeah, I did like it. Not enough to probably buy it, but I'll probably watch it again someday. So it's directed by Ari Aster, and I think Hereditary was his first horror movie. I don't know if it's his first movie in general, but it might be. I don't know. And this is his second horror movie. Yeah, I had to see this in theaters by myself. Actually, I think my boyfriend saw Hereditary with me. Yeah, which I don't know how I got him to see that because he hates horror movies, but I went to see this by myself because I knew he wouldn't want to see it. And it is stunning. This movie, the cinematography, and again, the color palette is just, it's beautiful. And I love the balance of, the beauty, and not really the balance, but the kind of contrast, but also the, what am I trying to say? The dichotomy of the beauty and sereneness, and then the absolute evil and terror embedded in the cult, basically. I don't think that's what they call themselves. They go to Sweden and go to this midsummer event that's within this community, and yeah, it's a beautifully shot film, but it's also a really unsettling film, and just watching this on the big screen was just, like, seriously, it was just great. Like, I loved this movie. It's a really heavy film. It's not just a horror movie. I really love what Ari Aster did. It centers around her and her boyfriend, and it's more of like a character piece than it is just about this, like, this cult that they go to and what happens. It's way more than that. It's a very emotional film. It's a very heavy film, while also being a horror movie, and I think Ari Aster did a great job. And Florence Pugh, who plays the main character, I think this is the first movie I saw her in. I'm pretty sure. And she blew me away. I was just captivated by her on screen. She brought so much to this role, and she really had to give a lot of herself to this role to pull it off, and I think she was incredible. Yeah, again, it's an unsettling film. It's not as in your face horror as Hereditary. A lot of people say that, like, Hereditary is more scary and this is more unsettling. I would agree with that, but this definitely has, some graphic violence and imagery in it that's pretty intense. But yeah, this is more my style than Hereditary. And I just loved it so much. I really did. I love movies that have a lot of thought behind, the shot and the cinematography and what's placed where and the colors and all that. I love movies that create their own kind of environment, and that's an artistic touch that not a lot of directors do well or even do at all, and it shows how effective it can be in this movie. And the score is also really good. I love this movie so much. Again, like, I feel like a lot, I don't know, this and the two Suspirias I say they're not your everyday horror film, it's a very different experience than a lot of people are used to, who go and see, like, Saw or Insidious Chapter 10. Like, they're very different movies. Not that those movies are necessarily bad, maybe a little bit. I liked the second Insidious, but the other movies are more so, like, for a good time, whereas I feel like these movies should be recognized as good films instead of continuously separating, like, horror films and then film, because people kind of treat them as their own thing and kind of put them below other kinds of films. And I think movies like this need to be, like, regarded as just a film in general instead of being, kind of overlooked as just horror. And a lot of people wanted to see Hereditary nominated at the Oscars. I wouldn't have been angry to see it nominated. I don't think it didn't deserve that, but the Academy tends to overlook horror movies a lot. I guess Get Out was a somewhat horror movie that the Academy actually recognized, and that one really deserved to be there, but I would like to see more horror celebrated, because I don't like the stigma surrounding it, and I would love to see Florence Pugh nominated for Best Actress for that movie. It's probably not going to happen, but definitely deserves it. So yeah, this video is really long. But I know a lot of you like my DVD collection videos, so I hope you liked this one, and I hope it was relaxing. I try to keep some variety in my videos with, like, whispering and soft speaking or no talking, so I try to, make sure there's something for everyone. But yeah, I hope that you all have a good night, and hopefully this video didn't spook you. No, I'm just kidding. There's nothing really scary about it. Yeah, so if you have watched these movies or watched them because of me talking about them, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in my next upload.